6d10, 1d10, 2d10, 1d10, 1, 2d10, 9d10, 2d10, 1d10, 3d10, 6d10, 4d, 2d10, 3d, 2d, 2d, 3d10, 6d10, 2d10, 1d10, 1d10, 4d, 3d10, 2, 1d10, 3d, 2d10, 1d10, 1d, 2d10, 2, 7d10, 6d10, 6d10, 2d10, 3, 3d, 3d10, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5d10, 5, 6d10, 9, 4, 12d1, 1, 7, 1, 100, 8, 100, 2d100, 1, 80, 80, 80, 70, 100, 80, 3d10, 4, 90, 82d 100, 1, 100, 122d 140, 50d, 50, 56, 50, 50, 8, 100, 1, 1, 9d 108, 8d, 4, 8, 9, 10d, 1, 2d10, 1, 1d10, 5d10, 6d10, 5d, 4d10, 3d10, 7d, 2d10, 2d10, 6d, 4d, 5d10, 2d10, 1, 8d10, 8d, 6, 9d10, 1d10, 1, 2d, 1, 1d10, 4, 2d10, 2d, 1d10, 4, 4, 2d10, 1d10, 1, 1, 9d10, 8, 1d10, 2, 4d, 4d10, 1d, 2, 2, 3, 1, 1d10, 9d10, 6, 5d, 2d, 1d10, 6d10, 1d10, 1d10, 1d, 2d, 2d10, 1, 1d10, 2d10, 2, 3d10, 7d10, 5d, 5d10, 2d10, 6d10, 2d, 1d, 2d10, 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 1d10, 2d10, 2d10, 1d, 1, 1, 9, 5d, 70, 100, 5D, 5D10, 5, 6D10, 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 6, 9D10, 2D10, 5D10, 6D10, 7D10, 4D, 3D10, 2D10, 7, 8D10, 6D, 6D10, 1, 2, 4D10, 6D10, 8D10, 2D10, 2D, 1, 1, 1, 5D10, 3D10, 2D10, 2, 1, 7, 8D10, 7D10, 3, 3, 3D10, 1D10, 1D10, 4D, 6D, 1D, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2D, 2, 3D, 3D10, 1, 2D10, 4, 1D10, 1D10, 3D, 1D10, 1, 2D10, 1D, 1D10, 2D10, 2D10, 1D, 2D10, 1, 1, 2D10, 9D10, 9D10, 6D, 6, 4D, 7D10, 2D, 1D10, 2D10, 2D10, 9, 1, 9, 2D10, 2D, 2D10, 5D10, 1D, 2D10, 2D10, 1, 6D10, 4, 2D10, 1D10, 1, 6D10, 2D10, 2D, 1, 2D, 7D, 7D10, 2, 2, 2D10, 8D10, 3D10, 4D10, 5D, 9D, 8D, 6, 6, 2D10, 5D10, 5D10, 3D10, 2, 9D10, 1D10, 8D10, 3, 2D10, 8, 3D10, 2D, 2D10, 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 5, 6D10, 7D10, 2, 3D10, 2D, 1D10, 1, 1D, 9D, 8, 5D10, 7D10, 8, 8, 3D10, 6, 5, 4D10, 2D, 2D10, 3D, 2D10, 2D10, 5D10, 1D10, 2D10, 7D10, 5D10, 6, 6D10, 2D10, 2D, 2D10, 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 6D10, 1D, 8, 8, 7D10, 2D10, 1D10, 5D10, 6D10, 2d10, 1d10, 9d10, 8d, 3d10, 2d10, 1d10, 1d10, 2d10, 2d10, 1d10, 2d10, 9d10, 8, 7, 6, 20, 20, 8, 8, 8, 8d, 7d10, 6d10, 7d, 7d10, 50d1, 9, 9, 90, 90, 70, 6d10, 6d10, 2d, 1d10, 2, 1d, 2, 2d10, 1d10, 2d10, 2d10, 1d10, 2d10, 1d10, 3d10, 6d, 9d10, 8d10, 5d10, 2d10, 1, 2d10, 2d10, 1, 2d, 1d10, 2d10, 2d10, 2, 2d, 1d10, 2d10, 1d10, 2, 2d10, 1d10, 1d10, 1, 1d, 2, 2d10, 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 3d, 2d, 8, 6d, 3d10, 1d10, 2d10, 1, 1d, 1d10, 5, 2d10, 2d10, 3d10, 2d, 2d10, 2d10, 1d10, 1d10, 6d10, 2, 4d10, 1d10, 4d10, Pantola d posa, boost from Migos d, 3d, 4d, 1d, 4d12 duck, 3, 2, 1d, 6, 6, 6d 30, 6, 6, 7d 14 jdmca, 8, 8, 1d 12, bot, sec, boot, 6, sec enemy, 3, revisado, 4d, 1d10, 6d10, 8d10, 6d10, 3d10, 2d10, 1d10, 2d10, 2d10. Papitas 159 Southeast Unialdago. 2d10. Ten. 2d10. 8d10. 2d10. 3d10. 2d10. 2, 9d, 7, 5d10, 9, 4d10, 2d1, 2d10, 6, 8d10, 1d10, 2d, 9d10, 1d10, 6d10, 9d10, 4d10, 2d10, 2d10, 3d10, 9d10, 1d10, 6d10, 5d, 5d10, 9d, 7d10, 9d, 1d10, 2d10, 5d10, 8, 9d10, 6d10, 4, 3, 1d10, 2d10, 6, 5d10, 2, 3, 4, 2d10, 1d10, 2d10, 7d10, 8d10, 9, 1, 6d10, 4d10, 5, 8d10, 2d10, 8d, 2d10, 4d, 5d, 6d10, 5d10, 5, 2d10, 1d10, 2d, 2d, 2d10, 1d10, 5d, 6d10, 3d10, 1, 2d10, 9d10, 1d10, 1d, 7d, 3, 3d10, 1d, 2d10, 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 7d10, 4d10, 7, 2d10, 2d10, 2d, 2, 2d10, 2d10, 1d10, 1d, 1d10, 1d10, 2d10, 9d, 3d, 9d10, 8d10, 6d, 5d, 5d10, 2d10, 2d10, 1d, 9, 6d10, 7, 1d, 2d, 2d10, 2d10, 6d10, 6d, 5, 2, 2d, 3d10, 1d10, 2d, 2d10, 8d10, 1d10, 2d10, 3, 4, 7d10, 2d, 2d10, 3d10, 1d10, 2, 6d10, 6d10, 2d10, 9d10, 2, 1d10, 1d, 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 3d10, 2, 7d10, 7d10, 1, 1d10, 3d10, 1d, 1, 2d, 3, 4d, 1d10, 8d10, 1d10, 5d10, 5d10, 7d10, 6d, 6d10, 6, 6d, 4, 90, 9, 9, 2d10, 8, 5d, 5d, 1, 1, 2d10, 1d, 9d10, 3, 8, 1d, 8, 9, 8d10, 5d, 1d10, 2d10, 5d, 5d, 9, 4d10, 7d10, 1, 1d, 8, 1d10, 1d, 9d10, 6d, 7d10, 2, 1d, 2d10, 2d10, 9d10, 4, 6d10, 8d10, 4d, 1d, 9, 6d10, 2d10, 2d, 2, 2, 2d10, 1d10, 2, 9d10, 2d10, 2, 1d10, 1d10, 4d, 1d10, 1d, 1, 2d10, 1d10, 1d, 2d10, 9d10, 2d10, 2, 1d10, 6, 5, 4d10, 1d, 8d, 6, 7d, 5d10, 2d10, 2, 1d10, 2d10, 1d10, 2d10, 1d10, 2d10, 1, 2, 2d10, 2, 1, 1d10, 2d10, 1d10, 3d10, 2d10, 1d, 9d, 9d, 5, 3d10, 3, 1d10, 7d10, 6d10, 6d10, 1d10, 2d10, 4d10, 3d, 1d, 7, 2d, 2d, 1d10, 8d10, 8d10, 2d10, 2d10, 4D, 2D10, 9D, 8D10, 1D10, 6D10, 1D10, 2D10, 3D10, 2D10, 1D10, 4D10, 2D, 1D10, 2D10, 3D10, 1D10, 1D10, 4, 9D10, 6D, 7D10, 2D10, 5D10, 2D10, 1, 2D10, 3D10, 2D10, 2D10, 8D10, 3D, 3D, 4D, 3D10, 2D10, 2D10, 9D10, 1, 1, 1D10, 1D, 2D10, 1D10, 1D, 1D10, 1D10, 9, 1, 2, 1D, 2D, 1D10, 1D10, 2D10, 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 1, 2D10, 6D10, 2, 2D10, 1, 2D10, 1, 2D, 1D, 9D10, 8, 9, 3D10, 2D10, 4, 5, 6D10, 9D10, 1D10, 2D, 3D10, 7D10, 5D10, 4D10, 5, 1D10, 2D10, 1D, 5, 4D10, 2D10, 6, 6, 5D10, 5D10, 1D10, 3D10, 2D10, 1D10, 1D, 2D10, 2D10, 2, 1D10, 1D10, 2D10, 8D, 7D10, 1D10, 2D10, 1D10, 1, 2D10, 3D10, 1D10, 9D10, 1D10, 1, 2D, 2D10, 1, 1, 2, 1D10, 9, 8D10, 2D10, 1D10, 8, 70, 90, 9, 6D10, 6D10, 5D10, 2D, 1D10, 4D10, 4D10, 2D10, 1D10, 1D10, 4D10, 7D10, 6D, 8D, 7D10, 4D10, 2D10, 8D10, 5, 4D10, 1D10, 7D, 2D10, 2D10, 1, 3D, 4D, 4D10, 3, 1D10, 5D10, 5D10, 6D10, 6D10, 2D, 3D10, 1D10, 7, 6, 2D, 2D, 1D10, 1D, 1, 1, 2D10, 9D10, 2D, 5D10, 2D10, 1D10, 2D10, 1, 2D10, 2D10, 2D, 2D10, 7D10, 1D10, 1D, 1D10, 2D10, 1D10, 1D10, 2D10, 1D10, 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 2, 1, 2D, 1, 1D, 2D10, 1D10, 2D10, 4D10, 1D10, 8D, 8D, 1D10, 6D, 1D, 1D, 2D10, 8D, 7D10, 6D10, 5D10, 9, 7D10, 8D10, 6D10, 5D, 5D10, 9D10, 5D10, 9D10, 1D10, 6D10, 5D10, 2, 1D10, 2D10, 1D10, 3D10, 3, 3D10, 1D10, 5D10, 9D10, 1D10, 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 6D10, 6D10, 5D10, 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 5D, 6D, 6D, 4D, 2, 1D, 1, 2D10, 6, 5D10, 6D10, 5D10, 2D10, 3D10, 2, 2D10, 1D10, 2, 8, 2D10, 1d10, 3d10, 8d10, 2d10, 6d10, 4d10, 3d10, 7d10, 4d10, 5d10, 1d10, 2d10, 8d10, 7d10, 2d10, 1d10, 2d10, 3d10, 1d10, 9d10, 4d10, 6d10, 3d10, 1d5, 8d10, 2d10, 6d10, 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 6d, 5d10, 5d10, 6d10, 6d10, 5d, 6d10, 6d, 6d, 5d, 6, 1d10, 1, 8d, 7d10, 1d, 9d10, 1d10, 5d10, 9d10, 5d10, 8d10, 3d10, 6d10, 7d10, 3d10, 1d10, 1d10, 9d10, 2d10, 4d10, 6, 6d, 4d10, 6, 5d, 5, 6, 8d10, 5, 4d10, 1d10, 2d10, 2d10, 1d10, 1, 5d10, 7d10, 5, 6d10, 7d10, 5d10, 5d, 6d10, 6d, 6, 5d, 5d10, 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 6d10, 4d10, 5d10, 4d10, 4d10, 5d10, 5, 2, 1d10, 1d10, 2d10, 1d10, 8d10, 6d, 9, 8d10, 8d10, 7d, 6d10, 8d10, 8d10, 8, 1d10, 1, 1d10, 2, 3d10, 4d10, 5d10, 6, 6d10, 5, 3d10, 6d, 6d10, 5, 6, 5, 5, 4d, 5d10, 5d10, 6d10, 7d10, 7d, 6, 5d, 5, 4d10, 2d10, 6d10, 6d10, 5, 6d10, 1d, 9d10, 6d10, 8d, 6d10, 6d10, 2d10, 5d, 6d10, 6d10, 1d10, 1d10, 6d10, 6d, 5d, 5d10, 4, 3d10, 8d, 2d, 2d10, 8, 4, 8, 5, 3d10, 2d10, 7d10, 2d10, 3d10, 3d10, 6d10, 5d10, 5d, 7d10, 9d10, 8d10, 7, 7d10, 8d10, 2d10, 4d10, 6d10, 6, 5d10, 6, 5d, 8d10, 7d10, 7, 8d10, 8d, 8d10, 3d10, 1, 3d10, 1d10, 1, 1d10, 1d10, 2d10, 1d10, 6d10, 4d10, 1d, 5d10, 1d10, 2d10, 2d10, 6d10, 5d10, 6d10, 8d10, 5d, 8, 7d10, 2d10, 2d, 8d10, 7d, 6, 5d10, 5, 4d10, 1d, 9, 1d10, 9d10, 7d10, 6, 4d10, 3d, 2d10, 1, 1d10, 2d10, 3d10, 1d, 3d10, 3d, 2, 1d10, 9d, 9d10, 7d10, 4d10, 8d10, 8d10, 2, 3d10, 6d10, 3d10, 7d10, 5d10, 4d10, 3d10, 6d10, 5d, 6d10, 6d10, 4d10, 1d10, 1, 3d10, 4d10, 3d10, 4d, 9d10, 2, 1d10, 6d10, 9d10, 9d10, 9d, 9, 8d10, 7d10, 5d10, 4d10, 2d10, 7d10, 5, 3d10, 1, 2d10, 9, 8d10, 6, 5d10, 2, 1d10, 9, 8d10, 4d10, 5d10, 8d10, 4, 3d10, 1d10, 2d10, 1, 5, 4d10, 7d10, 5d10, 2, 3d10, 6d10, 2d, 1d10, 3d10, 2d10, 1d10, 2d10, 2d10, 1d10, 1d, 1d10, 9d10, 3d10, 2d10, 1d, 9d, 8d10, 7d10, 6, 5d10, 3d10, 4d, 3d10, 2d10, 2d, 1d10, 3d, 6d10, 8, 1d, 9d10, 4d10, 4d10, 1, 2d10, 7d10, 7d10, 4d10, 5d10, 4, 4d10, 5d10, 3d10, 5d10, 2d10, 2d10, 7d10, 6d10, 2d10, 1d10, 8d, 5d10, 4d10, 2d10, 1d10, 1d, 2d, 1d10, 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 2d, 2d10, 2d10, 1d10, 1d10, 2d10, 2d10, 1, 2, 1, 2d10, 2, 2d10, 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 1, 1, 1d10, 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 2d10, 4d10, 7, 7d10, 7d10, 2d10, 6d10, 5d10, 1, 2d, 2, 4d10, 6d10, 1d10, 3d, 4d10,